Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of Mac Yak. We are on number 155, and we have Ron from Ron's Computer Videos back on again. And the reason why is because we didn't finish all the topics we had last week, so we had to have him on second week in a row here.
Yeah, that's a good reason as any, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's got nothing to do with him being like a good guest or anything like that.
No.
We just didn't get through the topics.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Hey, Ron, check your camera. Your video is stuck in the creepiest still ever.
Yeah, I feel like I'm about to get murdered.
I
Yeah.
don't know. It's moving on my side.
It's not moving here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not moving at all.
Okay, well, what about now?
It's
No.
still the same exact.
Scared.
You might have
So
to
it'll
back out
kick in.
back
It'll kick in.
Wow, that's
Ron's
crazy.
gonna
If,
cut somebody.
if you just sort of freeze, like,
It's moving on my side. I don't know.
It's-
So.
That just screams serial killer right there.
So guys, how you guys been doing this week? And has anybody been doing anything that they want to talk about real quick?
That's better.
Weldon.
Weldon, okay, go ahead there, Bruce.
I welded a new stand for my camera in my workshop, so there you go.
So you don't have one on this one, right?
What? This? What? Huh? In here?
Yeah.
Well, I think actually this is just a little webcam. I welded a stand for my big camera.
Gotcha.
I can use with a big tripod thingy. So yeah.
Hey, see what that is there, Grudy? Tripod.
Actually, this is just the head of a tripod. Actually, so it's missing
Well,
the legs, but
Well,
it
see,
will
but
sit on. Yeah.
Grudy wouldn't know what that is either. So you know.
I have a tripod sitting around here somewhere.
Yeah, it's the same place your MacBook was.
They work best if they sit under a camera.
Hey! Remember, I was asleep for a week.
Oh, but how's that any different? I think Dana said that in the chat. How's that any different from any other week?
True.
Anybody else?
The good news
doing
is your
anything?
tripod is probably on the floor with your MacBook.
I'm
Probably.
getting a little bit nervous being front.
Well,
and
I'm on
center
it
here.
right now, so I did find it.
Well, that's Mike. So, all right. So, anybody else doing anything unusual this past week?
Just been sitting here watching other people stream. Trina had her first stream.
I saw
Yes,
that. I saw that.
I personally haven't been doing anything.
What the
Just sitting
hell?
here.
I haven't been doing much of anything. I've been watching, or I have in my computer watch Jay streams. Speaking of which, how's your viewing coming for that?
I have no idea. Let's have a look.
While he's
I'm on
looking,
I didn't change it.
It took him forever to notice.
I'm getting there.
oh, there you go.
Nice.
You guys need to go and watch Jay's
Ooh.
videos because he's
Yeah.
getting there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
he's,
like my puck mouse cleaning video and loop it.
or his backyard camera, you know.
I'm just telling you, those open core videos have seemed to have done really, really well for you. I mean, I've watched all of them at least twice, and still cannot successfully get a machine to boot. So, so I think on that fourth viewing, that's what unlocks it.
You'll
That
get
is
it.
what-
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Fourth time's the charm, they say.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thing is though, is because I have an open core video that's actually my best viewed video. It was a live stream I did, and I still get comments on it from time to time. But I think just the term open core is something a lot of people search for on YouTube. So that's why Jay's probably getting those hits too, which is a good thing.
That's why
Yeah.
I always
Right.
put where to find PlayStation 5 in 2020 in the search criteria for like all my videos, and that is why I have more views than
All right,
Mark Zuckerberg now. So
We're talking about clickbait again here, huh?
I don't know if it was this week or last week, but the night that I started getting sick, I did the last open core video. And I said in the video, this will probably be my last open core video. And I actually got a lot of feedback saying like, no, do some more. But what else is there to cover?
You
install
just
it,
got to
update it,
you've got to
and-
open core every single computer that you have there. So you've just got to
Yeah,
work your way
okay.
through them.
Right.
Today we're going to be doing an iMac. Today we're going to be doing a Mini. Today we're going to be doing a Mac Pro. That's you're covered. You can do it.
Until he gets to the page, then he goes, "This is how you open core page." Psych, can't do it.
And then just think about how interesting it'll be when you're doing it in a COVID-induced hallucinatory phase.
Yeah.
I should have done that last night. That was it.
Jay, you've eventually got to do a video where it's just your arm just shaking like it's a cursed open core video.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I
do
could
one of
that.
those.
Like,
I
I
works
don't
for
know.
Vision
I think
Retro.
Sean might put
Yeah.
you for for a trademark infringement. All right,
It was
guys.
one day this week. Now, which day was it? I think it was. I actually on my calendar, I'm not sure, but there was one day where I think Steve. It was Tuesday, I think, which is probably Monday your day, whatever. Steve streamed, Mike streamed, Ron streamed. Ron streamed just an hour or something of just playing Wordle, and it was just like it was wonderful. It just from one to the next to the next. It was excellent. I had entertainment all day. It was fantastic.
Well, I'm gonna tell you one thing is because we all try to not to stream over each other, but just make sure
Except for Steve.
that except for Steve, Steve's the only one that actually likes to stream over everybody. He says, "I'm gonna do an hour video, which turns into 5 hours." So
I noticed that he finished his stream in time for Trina yesterday. Some definite favoritism going on there.
Yeah,
I
I'll
know.
say.
Hmm.
Didn't do it for me, jerk.
I know he didn't do it for me either. So see, I told you, Mike. I told you, didn't I?
It broke because you opened it up, you idiot.
Exactly.
I mean, I was streaming recently, and everything was going fine, and then Steve started streaming over the top of me, and I was like, "Dude, this urinal trough is like 8 feet long. You're just scoot
I
down."
saw that
cross
coming. There are some undiscovered tribes in the Amazon that saw that one coming, Ron.
Well, I just got flipped off virtually.
Yep. All right, guys. So we're going to go ahead and start getting into our topics here. I don't see any news, so I don't think we have any news to report. Let's see.
50% of us have no hair.
Yeah. Well, I have hair, so
That's why I said 50%.
I have some hair.
Craig, the only hair you have is on your face, and we need to shave that off. Greg, Steve, and I are coming to your house with some sheep shears, and we're just going to go to town on your ass.
sheep shears is probably a dull 'em. What are you talking about?
Bull tranquilizer.
Probably, yeah.
You guys may not believe this, but I can still grow a great big, thick, luscious head of hair, but I shave
don't
this little
believe it.
ball patch in the top.
I thought you just grow it on the sides and just comb it over.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say comb over don't count.
I've got the wrong sort of hair for that. I've actually got curly hair, so it wouldn't work.
Oh, damn. We'd love to see that one. That'd be
Yeah.
hilarious.
I totally see the sixth Doctor with a comb over. That'd be great. He'd be like, "Come on, get over there."
Yeah, and Steve's over there throwing the finger at us there, Mike. So
That was because I was giving him crap about his it wasn't broken till he broke it.
oh yeah. All right, guys. So next up on the list here, first topic of the evening is the Power PC Challenge is done officially. So how many of us are pretending it's still going on?
I haven't put anything away yet.
I haven't either. I usually use a Power PC every once in a while, so I still use them.
Oh no,
I
never
kind of
put mine
forgot
away.
there was an end date. I still have the 2.7 plugged in.
See, Grudy never checks our chat ever.
What chat?
Point taken.
Exactly. So yeah, we have a group chat, and Grudy's like he'll pop in only on Thursdays, right before the show. We're having a show tonight. Yeah, Grudy.
No, it's usually what? We're not having a show tonight? Really?
Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, we'll say, oh yeah, no, look, we can't do the show tonight, and then Grudy will turn up 5 minutes beforehand and go, well, what's happening, guys?
Yeah. Where is everyone?
Yeah, where's the stream?
He's the only one that's less disconnected than I am, and that's bad.
Well, you stay a little more or stay more connected than he does. So, so has anybody done anything really officially for the PowerPC. I mean, what did you guys do? We'll go around the corner of the room here. We'll start with Bruce. Did you do anything for the PowerPC challenge?
The most significant thing I did was very, very early on in the challenge, and that was build like a notes application that enables me to write stuff on a PowerPC running Tiger or whatever, and then continue writing on other devices. So I can write on the sort of a laptop or desktop or whatever, and that was very, very, very handy because I could actually go in. I did have a few things where I was sort of writing some scripts and I was writing some documentation, and I was able to go in and write them on the laptop. The little I was using a little G4, the 12-inch MacBook Pro. I think, is that what they call them? PowerBook. I don't know, whatever they are. The little aluminum ones, the 12-inch
PowerBook G4.
PowerBook G4, 12-inch, that one. I was using that one, still got a reasonable amount of battery power, so it works quite well as a laptop. And I was just using that for writing stuff. And then I would, when it was time to actually action it, I could come in here to my new computer and just copy the text out. And so that was probably my most significant thing. And that's something that I plan to use and probably expand on and improve for future ones. See if I can get it working on more browsers, older browsers, so that it might be something that people can use, other people can use for future challenges.
Okay.
Very nice.
I was just replying back to Starbuck Tech. He said Linux is fun to play around with, at least on PowerPCs. And I told him, so basically I'm waiting on Sean to write his little write-up in Tinker Different so I can actually do it, because I'm going to do it to my,
He
Power
said
Mac
at least
G5.
on PCs, perhaps not Macs. And I think a lot of people play with Linux on Macs.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
For sure.
Oh, yeah. I've done it on PCs. It's easy to do on a PC, but it's a challenge to do on a Power PC. So,
yeah.
Grudy, did you do anything?
Oh, yeah. The 2.7 still plugged in.
And
Did you use it?
I was using it for Facebook and YouTube, and I figured out that one of the CPUs run between 5 and like 20 degrees hotter than the other one. So the fans were on full blast half the time, but it didn't blow up, and it still runs fine.
that's amazing it didn't blow up.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because it wouldn't be a Ruck Mods video without it something blowing up.
exactly.
Actually, that's a good point. We're gonna have some video content of that.
Oh yeah, I'm going to be filming a follow up on everything and how I did it. Just kind of like one of the videos I shot back in 2017 with my G5s. Basically the same setup. And I did learn a few things about Sorbet Leopard I didn't know at first. And Tinker Different actually helped me because I couldn't figure out why it wouldn't connect to half the websites. And they explained it to me how it uses some kind of tracking profile to prevent tracking, which look how half the websites are used.
And your Wi-Fi is starting to fizzle on you because you're becoming a slideshow and your audio's like starting to go away.
Awesome. Can you at least hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, no, you're fine. I can hear you.
Well, that's all that matters, right?
Yep.
But yeah, I disabled that profile, and I could go about any website I wanted, and it worked fine.
And he's starting to fade out again on us.
A little bit road-body.
But
No punch
yeah,
your
that
router.
was about it. I'm still doing it, kind of. So,
Okay. All right, Dana, have you done anything?
No.
So Dana does. Okay, so your name is accurate then. Dana does nothing.
No, change that.
I don't know, but it's funny. It's probably true too, right? So what about you, Ron?
Well, actually, I kind of like last time we were all together, I was like, oh, maybe I ought to like get moving on doing something. And so what ended up happening is a department at the place that I work was like, hey, we've got like a ton of 3/4 and VHS stuff, and we want to start digitizing some things. And so I use it as an opportunity to donate a iMac G4 and donate some encoding hardware so that they can start on the project of archiving some of these things off that patrons bring in. So that would be that was my contribution to PowerPC love, I guess. Like,
No, that's,
you know,
that's good.
yeah.
That's good though. Let's see. How about you, Jay? You're audio only. No, actually, it's not even audio right now. He's muted. So we'll go to Mike. How about you, Mike?
I actually did next to nothing on the PowerPC. I'm going to be afraid to admit. I did install Sorbet on my 1G5, but unfortunately, that's about all I did. Because to be honest with you, I totally forgot about it. Even though we talk about it every week, I still forgot.
Yep.
You need Post-it notes.
Hey, did you guys see?
I need tattoos on my forehead.
You can't see those until you look in the mirror.
Yeah, well, I probably look at myself in the mirror more than I look at Post-it notes.
I've still not developed an app with Mike yet, so that head tattoo is working great.
And besides, the cats like to grab the Post-it notes and run off.
Ah, there you go. See?
That's why I don't use them anymore, because I'd find them all over the house.
Pretty colors.
Or find a cat with Post-it notes all over his paws and everything, trying to get them off.
You do that thing where they walk like this.
Or they're sitting there like, shaking their paw.
Oh, jeez.
Jay, you back with us, or you still gone?
I will just quickly mention something that we have the Tinker Different forum on the PowerPC Challenge, and the thing that seemed to create more interest and more chatter on that forum than anything else was an image that Jay posted of an incredibly dirty heatsink from, I think, was it a G4? I'm not sure. That was just absolutely covered in dust. And that seemed to be the most interesting thing that we ended up with on that forum out of the whole PowerPC Challenge. So we really have to step up our game next time, I think.
Yeah, I basically did the same thing Mike did. I put Sorbet Leopard on my G5. I did play around with it a little bit. I did play around with that Colin Mister's Discord program. Not much, but I did use it a little bit. I haven't done it like I was pretty active in the very first PowerPC Challenge we did, and I did a lot of write-ups for it, but the last couple I haven't been like as active in it, I guess. I mean, I don't know, but I next year I promise I'm going to be a lot more active, I think, in the next one, because I think we should make it the whole month of January. I know we only say 2 weeks, but I think we should say January, or the PowerPC January challenge.
Yeah,
We should just
we'll call it.
the whole month.
Yeah, we'll call it PowerPC Challengeary.
We got to come up with a better name than that. But yeah.
Yeah.
That's perfection. What are you talking about?
We'll come up with something, but yeah. That'll be the 5th one, I think, next year. So we'll have to definitely come up with something good on that one.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's go ahead and move on to our next.
Before we do,
Oh,
sorry to interrupt,
No.
GT. Can I just ask Bob Loblaw or something?
Yes.
Do you have some content that you might be doing that might fit the PowerPC Challenge about a new computer? I'm just curious.
Yes. I don't know what time I'm gonna live stream probably this weekend.
What?
Yeah.
Everybody clip this right now, because
I need to figure out what time. But yeah, I got a Molar Mac
Oh, nice.
from very local. So Dan Basher actually texted me and said, "Hey, go grab this before somebody gets it." And it's in excellent condition, and she only wanted $20 for it.
Oh, wow.
Not as cheap as Steve's. Actually, probably if you consider all the driving Steve had to do, it probably was cheaper than
This
Steve's.
was free. Yeah.
But
you
it
did-
cost him like $35 in tolls. So yeah, yours was a better deal, Dana.
Well, I mean,
And you
As
didn't
long
have to. And you didn't have to dig for it either.
I haven't
you didn't-
turned it on yet either. His works. I don't know if mine works yet or not.
Ah.
I think it
you haven't plugged it in. What?
No.
That's the first thing people are supposed to do. You're supposed to
Well,
plug it in and see if it smokes.
When you tune into the live stream, you'll find out why. Because I have also a little bit of a surprise.
Is
How
it
about
is it a
the
bigger
update?
surprise than the Hep C that Steve got digging through that trash pile?
That's the surprise he hasn't learned about. Yet.
Oh man.
Excuse me.
The The day he turns 65, he'll be like, "Oh, why does my liver hurt?"
Yeah.
So Dad's going, there's a Molar Mac not too far from me. They're asking $700. That should be on a what were they smoking there? So
That's, well, say what you will about eBay. People are making sales there. And I
That's-
just, on a whim, I went and looked, and the lowest price one I could find was $300. And these are all completed sales. And the highest price one I saw that sold was $600 and some dollars.
that's crazy.
It's
That
nuts.
sounds about right because those things are kind of rare.
Yeah, because they're, they were mostly in the education market.
They were only in the
For one
education
thing.
market.
For the next thing, they're ugly as hell, and so most schools just threw them out.
Yeah.
And because they were big and they were heavy and you
Well,
know.
I think they made them heavy so kids couldn't like take them and run off.
yeah.
With them.
But
Well,
as far
honestly,
as,
it's one of those things where if it falls on a kid, you want a wipe, not like a lifelong injury. So you got to make them super heavy.
yeah.
Well, they
Oh.
were never sold here. So some people do have them who have actually shipped them from overseas, but with how brittle those plastics are now,
Yeah.
you pretty much wouldn't bother. So out here, I would think. I mean, I never see them come up for sale, but if one did come up for sale, I hate to think what it would go for.
They
Yeah,
are.
you would probably buy one, wouldn't you?
No.
They're big.
No.
I mean, it's
Yeah, I don't have the
it's
space for
85
it.
pounds. It's 85
I
pounds.
actually had planned to do a video on mine, but mine's sitting in my basement in my house, and the studio is across the yard and on the other end of that
Need a
house.
wheelbarrow.
Yeah, I have no way to get it from my basement to next door.
So, would it perhaps be easier to drag all the cameras and lights into your basement?
Actually, it might be easier. John
have the
Ivy
problem.
now has a
And
service
you're-
where he'll come to your house and pick up your Molar Mac and just take it to any room you want.
And your Wi-Fi would be a lot better than all the way in your studio, wouldn't it be?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah. Let's think about moving that studio
Yeah.
because
They're putting
it's
the
still not
studio in-
wired yet. It's still not. You don't have all the electricity wired up yet.
It might be faster to tear down the whole building, bring it into my backyard, and then rebuild it
Oh,
than fixing my internet.
here we go. Here we go. So Sean says, let's take a trip to Oz and bring Bruce a Molar Mac. We'll buy its own
Well,
seat on there.
tell you
I
what.
think you'd have to pay double prices as much as it weighs.
If
Yeah.
you do that, I'll even meet you at the airport.
Hey, you know what, Sean? If your Patreon pays for it, I'll go.
All right, guys. So let's go ahead and move on to our next topic. It's a question from Dave on Discord. And we've covered this a little bit before, but we talk about it again, especially since Ron's on here too. How to respond to offensive comments or negative comments on social media or comments on your YouTube channel, and how we would react to said comments. Now, I know we've had some comments, especially lately, about how long our intro is, but we're a live show. We're not a video that we produce,
Yeah.
and then post on here.
You
The-
know what though? You can't make comments until after the stream has gone live. Like
Yeah,
after,
exactly.
after it's been done and then posted. So
Yes.
he was watching it where he had controls that he could have fast forwarded or skipped it all, but instead decided to leave 2 comments complaining about it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we just ignored him. I don't even remember us saying, I don't know if we said anything about that. Did we?
Someone did, I think.
don't think so.
But the intro, the reason why we have the long intro, because once you start the video and start the transmission on YouTube, it sends out an alert supposedly to all of
Yeah.
our subscribers. And that's the key to let them start joining. So it gives them time to actually get on their computer or wherever they're at and get on and watch the stream live. It's not meant for a replay, pretty much. But like Dana said, skip it. You got little controls down there to scrub,
Yeah.
Plus, if you think about it, a 4-minute intro, when you consider like the entirety of human history, it's just like a tiny little thing. So tune in at the 5-minute mark, and then you'll be like, oh, I missed the first minute. I need to show up early next time. So I think though that it's one of those things. The root of the thing is like, how do you deal with negative comments and things like that? I think it's always important to kind of remember that feedback is a gift, but it has to come from a place of that you are wanting to make that other person better. I mean, it's possible that anybody could just say, oh, you're just doing a terrible job. Well, how do I do a better job? Nope, you're just doing a terrible job. That's not real feedback.
Yeah.
But people that come to you and say, hey, I watched your latest video, and you have these little foibles, and you would be at that next level if you would just do these little things. And you have to be open to that type of stuff, because that's only going to make you better, and it's only going to make things more enjoyable for your audience.
Yeah.
But people that just want to come in and just be like chuck wagons about stuff, all you can do is just say, thank you for your feedback. I appreciate it. But and then you just mentally have to move on from that.
I don't know. I like Dave's vintage Apple Text answer. He says, just delete and block. Done.
Well, I don't know. Some of those people, you can turn some of those people around and make them some of your biggest fans. Because if somebody that just comes in, it's like Baba Booey, Howard Stern's wiener, yeah, like those type of, you're not going to fix that. But somebody that comes in, it's like, I watched your video and it just sucked, and it's like, okay, well, tell me what I did wrong and how I fixed that.
Well,
and sometimes those people will come back and they'll say, well, I just didn't like this, and this, and it's like, all right, well, I hear what you're saying. Tune in next week, because we're going to address some of those things. And there's been some people, like, especially when I started out, like I think my very first video that I did of my stuff, I just did handheld the whole time, and somebody complained and said, like, oh, I got seasick and all that. So my next video, I put it on a tripod, but I immediately addressed that in the video where I was just like, ah! And I did like a little funny sequence where I went to Best Buy and bought a tripod and brought it home and threw it down on the table. And then that person got back with me and was like, hey, dude, that was hilarious.
Grudy,
like,
take note. Take note.
Oh, you're funny. You're funny. I have like 20 tripods. I just
don't use any of them.
I must confess, I'm just about every movie I've ever seen or video I've ever seen of Greasy, he's been using a tripod. It's the microphone I want him to sort out now.
Hey, Mike, bring up Sean's comment. I like that one.
What, the snarky comment back and then hiding them from the channel? There
Mike,
we go.
Awake or what? Here, I'll do it.
Sorry, I'm not in charge of comments, so I don't have it up.
Oh.
Yeah, that's supposed to be Jay, but
that's basically what I do, Sean, except I don't hide it.
No,
I
hide
get
them
out
from the
of
channel.
comments.
Yeah. But Matt or Steve goes, I like to fight with them. Yeah, that's true, because actually I had somebody on the one I was talking about earlier, the Open Core video, because it was a live stream and it was about an hour long or so. And the guy complained, it's too long. Why don't you just get to the point? I said, because it was a live stream. I said, it wasn't like I was editing this. This was filmed as I was doing it. I didn't cut out all the boring parts, So the time it took to reboot the computer, guess what? You had to sit there and watch the computer reboot, But yeah, it's just like you said, some people just can't, you can't please.
But I sort of tend to look at comments in, as different types of comments. So there are ones where people are just outright, oh, look at that. There are people that are just outright trying to be offensive, and for those ones, I just remove them and block them. I don't reply to them, just remove them, block them. I don't want to give them the satisfaction of feeling like they created a dialogue with me. I want whatever they did to just feel fruitless, that they just did that and then it was deleted and they're gone. So I'm not going to give them any additional airtime or anything like that if they're doing something like that.
Yeah.
Then you have comments which are genuinely helpful ones where people say, oh, look, I noticed in this video you didn't address this particular problem. That might be something to address in the future, or they might actually then offer their advice on that particular thing. And comments like that, it's like, that's great. I want those in there, Then there are comments that I get where people actually give the wrong advice. So when people come in and actually say, like, you should do this instead, and the advice they're giving is, yes, come on. And the advice they're giving is actually technically incorrect. when ones like that happen, I tend to just remove them. I don't reply to them and say, hey, what you're saying is wrong or something like that, because to be honest, I don't have the time to get in a conversation with those sorts of people. So with those ones, if I actually see someone put something in the comment which is technically incorrect or technically, maybe dangerous for someone to try or something like that, I just delete them.
Well, Justin makes a good point here, because sometimes you get an odd comment and it's probably one of these little bots, and especially if it's not even on your topic of your video, and you get something that they sit there and they'll put like a little tiny URL or something like that. You might want to delete that. Those are bad. Get rid of those.
I've been lucky. No negative comments yet. Not even any feedback of how I do things or why I do things. Mostly questions or like, hey, I enjoyed your video. I've been lucky so far. I think the people that complain that something takes too long never make it to the end of my video. So they just kind of give up halfway through. So I already lose those.
They should stay, because normally at the end of those House of Moth videos, that's when all the stuff gets set up for the next MCU movie. So if you don't watch it, how is Samuel Jackson going to get a paycheck? I'm just saying.
Will he ever get his eye back? I don't know. That's
a good one. Let's see. Oh, Bruce, you're using the soldering iron backwards. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I always get you using soldering iron too hot. I had an interesting one that I get, because I do a lot of these videos out in the workshop, in particular if I'm doing in the middle of spring, there's a lot of bird noise in the background, just birds chirping away in the background. That really bothers some people. I mean, like, really gets on them, and they just like, oh, that noise in the background is so annoying, and it's like, well, okay, fair enough. They're just birds. I mean,
if they can't deal with the birds, Bruce, how are they going to deal with Figapalooza?
What the hell is Figapalooza?
Don't you have like a big fig tree over your
shop?
Oh
yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do. Having said that, though, I did get the branch that sits on top and used to be going bang 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 on the top of it. That branch has been removed. So yes. So I will still get the hard figs for when at a particular time of the year when the figs get sort of dry and they fall off the tree and then they hit the roof and then they hit really hard.
Well,
so that's still yet to come.
Just think, you could have a pecan tree in your right. Could that would be even worse, because then you hear that all day long.
Yeah, I would get that, but thankfully
the ravens don't go away.
How do we feel about the comments of people, especially with live streams, people that get pissed off and leave because we're not paying enough attention to the live chat? I think people really underestimate how tricky it can be to do a live stream, interact with your guest or your team or whatever, read the chat, comment to the chat, try to fit it all in there in the conversation you're already having. And if you have a stream with hundreds, dude, I watch live streams where they have thousands of people watching at the same time. You think they're ever going to pay attention to you?
Yeah.
I mean, I've found that once it gets to about 50 or more viewers, that's when it gets really hard. You don't have to look away for long to just completely miss something. Someone can go in and ask you a question, and you can be there, looking through the microscope, doing some soldering or something like that, and go back and it's gone. It's not visible anymore. And with, I always say in the live streams, if that happens, it's not personal. If I don't answer your question, feel free to ask it again. And if you accompany that question with a super chat, it'll be answered even quicker.
I was just going to say, because the super chats actually put it in a different, it kind of stands it out. It kind of highlights it. And so usually, and I know
whether you use YouTube's own interface or StreamYard or no, not OBS, but the PC version, as soon as you get a super chat, everything lights up on the streamer's end. We always see it unless we're out of the room.
Yeah.
But if Trina just now asked something, it's already off my screen. It's already scrolled past. So
that is why you guys need an Andy Richter. You guys need Ed McMahon. You've got to have, like, if it's a bigger stream, have somebody in and just have them run the chat for you.
Yeah.
Oh, also,
Well, that's supposed to be
And
Jay's
Steve-
job.
if you're gonna be asking technical support questions and crap like that, maybe you should tip $1 for the 30-minute tangent
Yes.
and a response.
Well, that
Hey,
is the
Steve,
other thing. Yeah.
Did you shave?
Yes, it's a process that I showed
Wow.
Grudy on the chat, but I don't think that he comprehended it.
Oh, I
he
don't
did
need
not.
to. I'm good.
But one of the things that, and talking about the super chat thing, is that I've seen other people that do live streams and have like thousands of viewers, and they
I
get
just saw Dana's name.
lots of super chats, and they never really get a chance to look at all the super chats, and they have to go back and kind of answer some of the questions. So. We're a small streaming channel. I mean, we could see the super chat. We'll see it because we only get maybe 1 or 2 a show, if that sometimes. And we don't care if you guys do it or not. It's not a big deal.
I care.
Yeah.
So does Jay, but
How are we
you know,
going to get rich with that attitude? Come on.
I do this for fun. Okay. As long as it pays the bill for the StreamYard, I'm happy with it. You know,
We're supposed to have fun.
Jay doesn't
I'm-
have no fun.
I've actually noticed that Steve in particular gets thrown so many technical questions during his live streams where people saying, I've got a Macintosh 512K and it's clicking when I switch it on or something like that. And it's you can't really be expected to answer all of those. I mean, you might find one that is
Somebody should
relevant
have
to
told
what
me
you're
that.
doing. You do what you can, but at the end of the day, you can't answer all of those sorts of technical queries in a live stream. You can try, but some of them are really curly ones.
Yeah, that's why if I get something that is a little bit longer now that I have a Discord channel, I'll be like, well, just email me or send me a Discord thing, and some smart person will get back to you. But usually you can't just stop the momentum of the entire stream to be like, all right, let me pull out this weird machine and troubleshoot this with you. Oh, you didn't have a hard drive in it. Well, that you should have said that at the beginning. But okay, well, we went down this rabbit hole.
Starbucks
Yeah,
makes a
I
very
know.
good point here. That's what forums are for, to ask questions.
Yeah,
That's
and
why
I
we
don't
have
even mind
Tim
if people ask questions, like if someone puts a question in the chat now, we might not get to it, or in one of my live streams or whatever. I spend half my day helping people for free in the Facebook groups, on forums, on Discord. I love doing it. That's why I want to do it. But if I then not see your question during a live stream and you get all pissy about it, yeah, you better start paying me money.
Thank you,
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Ron.
Oh, thank you, Ron. We should invite that guy on.
Yeah. Oh, wait, he's here. Yes, but we do get it. We do see it's a lot. It's a big thing on our chat here, so we can see it, and it's different colors too, depending on how much you send on the super chat.
Yeah, can someone try a $500 one? I want to see what color that is.
Blur your eyes, it looks like
Just
it's
as a
not
test.
between the 5.
Uh,
Yeah, we'll refund you.
Sure.
Steve
yeah.
will refund you.
yeah.
Rudy will refund you. Not it.
Yeah, not it.
Not it.
Hey, Grudy's got that expensive computer. He can do
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, and then see, there goes. Okay, Grudy. Yes, you're good.
Mike, good money.
We could just give you our PayPal link and then you cut out YouTube, the middleman. How about that?
Exactly. You just,
But
you just gave
Grudy, we
YouTube-
already knew that $5 was light green.
Yeah.
Just dump
But-
money in the bucket. We'll sort it out later.
Also, depending on how much you put on there, it's how long it stays on the top of the chat too,
Yeah.
because you'll see your name stay up there and a little timer bar start clicking off as it goes.
So
What were we talking about again?
the takeaway here is that whether it's Maciak or Steve or Bruce or whoever, you can ask questions. We would not be live streaming and doing this stuff if we did not want to interact with you. But if we
Yes.
can get to you, or it's not the right time for your question or whatever, don't get all upset.
Or if your question has nothing to do with the topic we're talking about, because sometimes we ignore that. And there goes Mike.
Orange, we got orange.
I hope Mike found his wallet.
Yeah.
I did, trust me.
Otherwise, that's going to bounce.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
No, I
Mike.
got money in the bank.
Uh, Oh yeah, you got to do it 3
PayPal's
times.
a godsend right now. Let me tell you.
That's
Oh,
what we eat.
God.
I want to know the story behind this one.
If you
What?
go over 800 to Google, I join the fun. Just make
Oh
another
yeah,
joke.
Oh,
Ouch.
How do you owe Google $800?
yeah.
Let's not answer that.
I owe Google zeros. Well, actually, Google owes us money
I'm
sometimes.
going to
so,
say, I think Google owes us money.
yeah. So, but
Oh,
yeah,
we
I
got
mean, as far
dark
as the
blue.
topic goes,
Oh no, that's red.
the chat, looking at get the super sticker. Yeah. Look at this. We
Yeah,
got
that gets
everybody
more
here
attention for
on
$1.
the
But the
stream,
sticker
for
doesn't show up
chat,
in
except for
StreamYard.
nobody
That's what sucks.
listening to the stream.
I refuse to pay myself. I refuse.
Yeah, give 40% to YouTube. No, thank you.
I don't like
Oh,
myself.
Christ.
Oh, and there, jeez. All right, let's stop the.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm done because
Chat war here.
Stop playing with yourself, Rudy. Jeez.
Oh my God! All right,
Something
we're having a
about
super
YouTube?
chat war. We probably just gave YouTube about $50 just now. So
Some guy on your server's like, what the hell's going on there?
all right, but getting back to the topic here. I mean, dealing with people that are on your chat. I mean, you can deal with the way you want to. I mean, it's up to you. But just like I said, I like to fight with them. That's just me. Some people like to just ignore
Greg
them.
must have infinite spare time. I think that's
Exactly.
I do
Kill him with kindness.
maybe 2 or 3 things. Okay, if it's extremely offensive, I'll just delete it and block them. If it's kind of funny or just mildly offensive, I usually come up with a snarky comment. And if it's something to do with my dogs, they definitely get deleted and blocked.
What if they say your dogs are awesome?
Well, negative things.
You just said if it has anything to do with your dog. So I was like, okay.
So,
All right. Any other things on this before we move on, guys?
I think we should move on.
All righty.
Good.
All right. And I'm going to throw this next one over to Steve because he's done this just recently about LCD restorations on a 68K PowerBook. So go ahead, Steve.
I like Mike's little note there. So yeah, Mike gave me a few of his machines to recap, and after sitting around in my dusty basement for about a quarter of a century, I actually got to them. So he gave me a 160, and I recapped that, and I put a guide on my website, which I'm furiously typing to access right now. But essentially, the LCD screens on a lot of these old machines, they're not. Where's my guide? There it is. They're not exactly in the best shape. And some of that is just due to age, whether the components have failed or something has come loose or something like that. But most of the time, could be related to capacitors or something that is physically wrong with the machine. And so, there we go. Let's go the other way. Make the thing go.
Oh,
There. Oh, thank goodness. Okay, so here's the recapping guide I created for the PowerBook, and it was originally for the 160, but I heard people saying it was also for the 140, and it was also compatible with the 165, and they followed it, and it worked great, which is nice. Now, a caveat to this is a lot of parts have different manufacturers and all that stuff, so you never know if it's going to be 100% exact. But here's a pretty obvious before and after image, so you can see how.
This is on your site.
I'm sorry?
This is on your website.
Yes, it is.
You
It
clever
says
girl.
www.mac84.net.
Yeah, he made recapamac.com.
Well, I have like 4 165s. I need to do this.
Well, the caps are listed right over here with handy Mauser links. There you go.
That's very nice.
But essentially, these things have tiny little caps. I should put a photo of them because they're very tiny here. But there's a YouTube live stream if you want to waste 8 hours of your life watching that. But essentially, not all LCDs are as simple as just doing a recap, but it couldn't hurt. Now, the 160 that Mike gave me in this picture was pretty bad, but the 165 actually wasn't too bad. So only a few of the caps got really crusty, and after I replaced them, it was fine. And then I had to open it up and replace it again because I put the wrong cap somewhere. But
yes, I was going to ask, how important is it to have the right caps in the right place with these?
Right.
Is that like saying the same thing about putting the DB25 connector on the right side of the board?
yeah, you need to put things in the right place usually. But I made this little
Steve.
guide. Yes, sir.
Does recapping one of those old LCDs help with a faded backlight? Is that a recapping issue or no?
From my understanding, the backlight is a completely different issue. I mean,
Okay.
Okay, potentially, I guess maybe a capacitor is controlling the voltage flow to that if it's on the inverter board, and I guess that could cause problems. But generally speaking, if the backlight is dim or it's dead, replacing that component is probably the way to go. So
Okay, I was gonna do that to my Pismo, but I figured, hey, maybe it's just a recap.
yeah, I mean, a lot of the thanks. A lot of the machines, for example, the what was it I opened? The 5300 CS. A lot of different LCD panels are in those. So one that I actually made another guide for, and here it is. I should have not stopped sharing my screen. Now I
Oh man,
again and again, and go over here and click the thing, and then click that, and then go there, and there it is. But for the 5300, there's actually a few different models, and each model may have a different color display. You know, one was a bit higher quality. I think it was 8-bit versus 10-bit or 16-bit or something like that. But this is a Torasan model, and this had its own capacitors, which were very tiny. Not as bad as the 160, but yeah, everything varies. So if you're going to be looking at a display and you think you want to replace the capacitors on it, you think that's going to help your cause, I would strongly suggest opening it up carefully and taking a peek before you order anything, because it could just be a model revision and then everything is not
Sound
exactly
good.
what you expect.
I have a relevant question. I don't know if it's on one of the models that you were working on, but one of them has tantalum capacitors where they're surface mount, but both the pins come out one side.
Yeah, that was Ron. I think he was the PowerBook 100, correct?
Actually, they're not.
Oh.
It's a traditional cap, but it's like in a little plastic box.
Oh, yep. The Newtons are like that. They
Yeah, it's
for some
weird.
reason, they look like tantalums because they have that little black box. And you would think, oh, these are just tantalums. But why are they going the right way, or the wrong way rather? They have two of the pins coming out. But I don't know what the reasoning was. If it was just a manufacturing style at the time. But they're just a little electrolytics with the two pins coming out, and I guess you just needed really small caps.
Well, my PowerBook 100, when I bought it, it had an onion on its belt, which was also the style at the time. So I went through and I got it recapped, and lo and behold, that did not fix my problem.
It was making farty noises after that. That was the stream you were doing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I think like it's kind of like a portable where it'll make like those farty noises if something's just not correct.
It just wasn't happy. You have to do a dance around it, and
yeah,
maybe.
But
maybe
if you plug a hard drive in, and it'll Mac Yak intro as much as you want, and so it'll boot up like everything's okay. I just don't have I just don't have video output, which is why one of you brilliant people should come up with a universal LCD replacement for 100 series PowerBooks. I am going to start the bounty on this project at 50 cents.
Well, you owe me 50 cents because all you have to do is cut out.
All we need is an angel donator. We just need one angel donator, and then we'll be all set. But
yeah, for the PowerBooks, do your research. Hopefully, there are going to be more recapping guides. I have a few different PowerBooks. So I'm just going to keep opening them up and see. I know the 180 screen is different from the 160 because I did open it up.
So those models on your guide, do they have the polarizer issue also?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all of, and Bruce could probably speak to some of that. I know he's seen some terrible ones, but a lot of these other problems with the LCDs are not repairable, unfortunately. And somebody else about that.
There is it's referred to as delamination, and it has very, very unusual results. You can they sometimes look like it's someone scratched down diagonally down the board, and it is basically that there is a polarizing filter that's stuck on the LCD, and it's stuck on with an adhesive, and that adhesive it sort of breaks down with time and then creates that awful effect. And someone, an Australian guy out here who has a phenomenal collection, a guy called Adrian Fanulovic. He's actually the president of the Australian Retro Computer Museum Society, something like that. Anyhow, he's an incredibly knowledgeable guy on this subject, and he's basically said that the delamination occurs most likely in dry environments. it's most likely if the laptop has been stored closed, which of course is fairly standard. But he said that some of the things you can do to reduce the chances of it, if you get a very, very thin piece of cardboard or even a thick piece of paper and slip that in between the keyboard and the monitor for storage, that apparently can make a difference. And yeah, there's a lovely delamination. They can be repaired by removing the polarizer and replacing it, but that is not for the faint of heart. It's a very, very difficult
again,
job
Ron.
to do.
I'm sorry. Oh, sorry.
Now you're big now.
Just 20 more minutes. Hold on, I've almost got it.
Oof. Yeah.
By the way, you can get a pretty screen like that with
yeah,
no
that's-
additional effort if you buy any Retina MacBook Pro. It'll just happen.
That's true.
So what was that, a 520 or a 540 there on there?
This is a 150, which
Oh,
is,
okay.
I guess, kind
This
of
is
a
a
more
540,
common
actually.
problem since this was like the cheapest
Yeah.
kind of PowerBook 100 series that Apple sold. But there are a couple of videos. If you search for the term vinegar syndrome out on YouTube, there are some videos where people have gone through and like done the work of like kind of explaining how to like clean the screen. And I mean, again, if you are like an ultra novice, it might be out of your comfort zone, but if it's bad and you crack the screen, are you really out anything? If you at least try something. But there are places online where you can order new 45-degree polarizers that have that are either like not adhesive at all or just have the adhesive on one side. And there are some guides that you can watch where as soon as you kind of figure out your angle, cut things to kind of be the appropriate size for your display, and you can use like a tiny bit of simple green, so you've got like some time to kind of arrange things and line things up before things are permanently in place. But I mean, if you're really worried about it and you were able to successfully clean that, I mean, you could get a polarizer that just doesn't have adhesive and just sort of like stick it in place and hope for the best. I mean, if you get any dust back there, of course you're gonna be pulling your 30-plus-year-old PowerBook plastics apart. But I mean, there's options. I mean, but is it really worth fixing like getting a $60 polarizer for a PowerBook 150? Maybe not.
You're
Maybe.
asking the wrong crowd.
Yeah.
I mean,
If
But
anyone
you would be like, yes, it is.
if anyone happens to have this happened to a 520 or a 540, that if someone has that happen to the screen and you can't be bothered fixing it, can you please send me your SCSI cable, your internal SCSI cable? Because mine's wrecked. So
I might have one for you, Bruce.
oh, that'd be even
I
better.
have one that has a wrecked display, and I just have the motherboard.
Okay.
I gotta
yes.
find
Well,
it.
I've got one that everything is pristine except the SCSI cable.
And I noticed some of the PCB suppliers are now making those little cables. So we
yeah, Flex, the Flex stuff. Yeah.
If I give it to you, you gotta recreate it.
I gotta go. No. No. Yeah, I mean,
come on, Bruce.
I thought I might actually try and have a go at repairing it with some wire and stuff like that, but there's so much damage. But essentially, the Flex it's sandwiched in, the wire's sandwiched in between two pieces of plastic, the copper, and that started to separate. And when it separated, the copper inside touched, and it was, ones with voltage in it, and created a short, which then made it melt and melted all of the other plastic, which made even more wires die, and it's an absolute mess inside now. So yeah, a new cable is really all I can go with that. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Thanks, Vincent.
But the delamination is not just for the old sort of grey ones, or the old dark grey ones like that. There's been delamination happening to titaniums as well. So it's not, people do need to be aware that this is a problem that is going to keep happening as time goes on.
Yay.
the joys of collecting.
Well, I have
Agreed.
a 540 here. I'm just playing with it, in fact, but it's not doing any of that delamination stuff yet. So
I knew there was a reason I didn't get into laptops much.
Yeah, I started collecting laptops, and then they just started pissing me off, so I don't collect them anymore.
The first one I saw with delamination was when I visited the E-Waves place in 2020, and they had, I I ended up buying both of them because they were only like $5 each. So I'm like, the plastics are worth that. But they both had like the horrible. One looked like someone scratched it, and one looked like the one Ron looked at. And I'm like, what happened to these? Like, who did this poor machine?
When I went to Computer Reset, they have like the laptop room. And I mean, all the 286 laptops, 386 laptops, it's Texas, and that building was not climate controlled for years. And so a lot of those machines be like, oh man, look at this beautiful grid these beautiful, like, vac fluorescent displays and things like that have like, it's just like, oh, it's destroyed. It's unfortunate, but yeah. Some of those might be fun to repair.
It seems that where the laptops are stored in very dry, hot areas seems to be the worst, which is probably why we don't see it too much over where most of us live, because it's very humid around here when it's hot. So that seems to keep the glue somewhat semi-fluidic, I guess.
I've actually heard the exact opposite.
Really?
That the humidity the humidity is good for the plastics, as in stops the plastics from getting brittle, but it's bad for the delamination. And that the dry is, and look, I could be getting it wrong. I could be getting this mixed up, but that's what I heard was that.
All right, so we need 3 warehouses. One,
that's right.
Plastics. One for all the plastics. One for whatever.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. Yeah.
I need a wet priest and a dry priest. We will figure this out.
Keep those super chats coming.
Yes.
Oh, Lord.
Rudy will hook us up, right, Rudy?
All right, guys. So let's go ahead and move on to our next topic of the evening here. This is actually a pretty good one, I think. CPU upgrading older Macs. Is it just a waste of money? I say depends on what the Mac is.
No, come on.
Yeah. I depend, because my CMP here, okay, is an old Mac, and I have actually upgraded CPUs in it, but it's still working fine.
Yeah, and it's not expensive.
No, it's not. I think I paid $50 for the pair of CPUs to throw in here, so it wasn't bad at all. I had to delit them because it's a 4,1, but it works just as good. But what about these other computers? Like Jay likes to overclock a lot of these, G4.
Don't upgrade your CPU. Take what's already in there and just clock the hell out of it.
Yeah, because sometimes it gets unfeasible buying things like this.
We can't hear you, Rudy.
What?
Yeah.
Haircut. He froze.
Oh.
And
It's one of those things. If you're recreating a machine from your youth, it was like, oh man, I had a 520 and I did, my folks did the PowerPC upgrade in it, and it made like this machine. It's got like a very special connection for me. Yeah, it's probably worth it. But if you're like busting your butt because it's like, oh, I got a 7500 100, and I decided that I want like some 604 upgrade that's unobtainium or something like that. That I don't, just to do it, to make it the fastest 7500. I don't know that there's a lot of value in that. I mean, this is largely a nostalgia hobby, so
yeah.
I would think you'd have to be creating something. They would be like, this is the machine that I had when I was in university or whatever.
And I always have to remind people who are just getting into these vintage computers, whether it's Mac or a PC, if you're doing an upgrade, you are still limited to things. Yes, you may shove a 400 megahertz G4 processor into that 7600 or whatever. The bus speed is still 40 megahertz or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So that bus speed is how fast that processor can talk to the memory and all this stuff. So yeah, the processor is now hella quick, but now you have a bottleneck elsewhere. So it's like, is it really worth buying that upgrade card on eBay instead of going in to buy a G4 machine that has a faster architecture?
Yeah, I've never bothered with those kind of upgrades, like putting a G4 1+ gigahertz Sonnet in my G3 blue and white is just a complete waste of money. It looks cute in about this Mac, but it's completely useless.
Now, I will say, it's the only way to make a 6100 useful. I have a G3 upgrade that's like a 200 megahertz card, and it doesn't feel like a G3, but it feels like, you know, a decent power PC, because that machine is garbage anyway.
Yeah.
So, you know, if
There's
if
no
you could
such
get
thing
the
as a
upgrade-
decent 6100, Steve.
I said it's still garbage.
Okay, so
if
so
you
Baby Boomer is saying we're calling out Sean, are we? No, Sean makes money on his videos doing this silly stuff.
Yeah,
So-
but Sean's doing it for entertainment. So,
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there's value in it for that. For just, if nothing else, you're rubbernecking this project he's doing.
Well,
But-
what I was
but
about to say
people-
before GT interrupted me, sir, was that quick. Somebody put in the comments, so he'll interrupt me again. If you get these cards cheap enough, who cares? You know, back in the day, I bought a few of these cards. It wasn't expensive. I wasn't burning money here, just seeing if I could run the machine faster. But these days, these cards are well over $100, $200, $300, especially these custom-made ones or these ones that were really rare and everything like that. If you have the money to buy them, do whatever the hell you want with it. I don't care. But I don't think it's a viable thing, obviously, for anything other than retro, you know, enthusiasts just saying, hey, my system has a whatever in it just for the fun of it. Because you're probably not going to use that machine for the performance reasons that you would expect from a processor upgrade card.
Like
I mean,
folks that are
yeah.
going like crazy trying to find a 601 PowerPC upgrade card for their Quadra 700. It's still going to be a 50 megahertz 601 when you're done. You'd probably be money ahead to buy like a 7180 or something like that. So you've got new bus slots, and you've got like, you're kind of in that same era maybe, but I don't know. Sorry, Bruce. I didn't mean to.
No, it's fine. I have the same attitude as Steve, and that is that if you can get hold of these at a bargain price, they're great to have in the collection, and they're great novelty. But more importantly, I also think they do sometimes improve the sale value of computers if you decide you want to sell one. So if you've got a particular computer, let's just say for argument's sake, I don't know, 7500 or a 7300 or something like that, which was originally like a 604 CPU. If you sell that with a G3 upgrade card in it, you're probably going to get more for it if you're selling it to someone with that G3 upgrade card in it. Yes, to all of the above about the fact that it's not going to run as fast as an actual G3. But if you do get that G3 upgrade card either free or cheap or something like that, I always grab them. I definitely grab the CPU upgrade cards because they're just a fun novelty. But I wouldn't be going in and spending silly amounts of money for it. The one exception that I've found where it's a very, very noticeable speed jump from a CPU upgrade is the Radius Rocket in the 2CI. But that's basically because of what a huge sort of chasm of advancement it was between an 030 and an 040 at the time. If you go in and use those computers, you can see that. As time has gone on, those upgrades are maybe not going to give you the same sort of, kick in the pants that you get. But yeah, I mean, if you get them cheap, grab them, but don't pay stupid amounts of money for them.
We're sorry, Sean. I don't mean to discern you from not doing these things anymore. Please, we live vicariously through your purchases. So.
But ultimately, it goes back to what Ron said: is it's almost always this is a project based on nostalgia, and nobody's going to spend any more than they're willing to spend. Whether that's $1,100 for a power PC upgrade, or
I don't know. There's some people out there
for this or that. There are part of the fun for me is finding something that you really want, not necessarily because it's valuable to people on eBay or other collectors, but something that you've wanted for a long time that you haven't found, and you're not gonna, and finding it at a really good price, like not paying a lot for it. Like this week when I found Dan found that Mac for me, I wasn't even looking. He sent it to me. He's like, "You need to get this," and she was like 15 minutes from my house. So
you can't say no to that. When Dan tells you to get something, you listen to him. No matter who's Dan, any Dan.
Dan was the one that found that 2GS complete system that was going for a ridiculous price that they ultimately pulled away from me. So
decided to keep, didn't they? Yeah.
I find
What you
these
got there,
upgrades
Ron?
on eBay, and then I just send a link to Grudy. Say Grudy, and then he buys it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to show you guys this. Speaking of upgrades, This machine here has a 40 megahertz Daystar 030 accelerator with FPU. Some of kids didn't go to college, so that somebody could put an accelerator in an LC2.
Well, you just solved a mystery for me. That's
So hang on, the
15 years old.
LC2 was 03016, is that right?
Yes,
And so they've gone from 16 to what was it?
40 megahertz.
Okay.
I'm telling you, this thing flies. But
No, it doesn't.
I don't believe you.
it's the same speed as a 2FX. So yes, but that's the thing. It does have some limitations. The biggest of which is 10 megabytes of RAM.
Yeah.
So if somebody was like, "Oh my gosh, like I've got to have this accelerator so that Photoshop on this machine quicker,"
Hang on.
that's probably not a great investment. But I mean, this. I'm sorry, guys. This is actually a 50 megahertz 030.
Oh well.
Oh well.
So this
In
is
that case,
hey, I'm just telling you that blue painter's tape. It's probably like 60 megahertz with all that on there. But but no, absolutely, it's somebody went crazy money when you could just buy like a Quadra 605 that would probably kick the crap out of this.
So hang on.
Very likely.
Just sorry, may I? Just can you hold that up with the camera again? Sorry, Ron. So the first thing is an adapter from an LC processor direct slot to what is a to CI.
So this
So
is
that's
a PCI
actually
accelerator. Yes.
Okay. Well, hey, okay.
So, Ron, about 15 years ago or so, I was at a computer flea market. Did it smell good? I was at a computer flea market, and they had a bunch of LCs and things like that. And I ended up buying a Workgroup Server 7200 from them because I had $5 in my pocket left, and any of their computers on the table were $5. And I lifted the top of one of the LCs, and it had that exact card in it. Because I remember it took up it was completely the size of the motherboard. And I looked at it and said, "Huh, that's interesting." And then I closed the lid and I bought the 7200. But now I know what that card was. For years, I've been searching for big, weird card fits an LC, and none of my Google results were, safe for work. So
I actually have the Daystar, the 040 accelerator for the 2CI, and it's supposed to be compatible with this. You could put it in there, so you could have like a 33 megahertz 030, burning the hole through this LCD motherboard. So I think
you need to turn that into, if you've ever seen the Mac Addict magazine, okay, well, now you can't because it's beautiful, but
I like the sticker.
there's a copy of Mac Addict, and on the front is like a hot rodded out LC with wheels and silly stuff like that.
I remember that.
I mean, you just shove that processor in there and put a fan right on the top. You just get one that has terrible plastic.
So that upgrade card is a classic example of the kind of stuff they could sell to people back in the day, because it's a 50 megahertz CPU, but your bus still runs at 16 on that computer. So it's
but
it
would have your version of whatever.
But see,
It would
remember
look
back,
good on a benchmark.
but see, back then though, remember when you sold a computer, even the PCs back then, it was all about how fast the processor was. It was like,
right.
oh, it's 30 megahertz. This one's a 50 megahertz, so it's going to run faster. But they don't tell you that. Yes,
They didn't think people would understand what the bus was.
they didn't tell people that was not.
Yeah.
And also, don't forget, computers were 4 times more expensive back then too.
Oh yeah.
That LC2 probably cost about $1,700 when it was new, which to us is like $500, $600. That was a lot of money back in 1992. So, those accelerators made a lot more sense back then. They make no sense now, but they made a lot more sense back then.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely about extending your investment and stuff. So back then, yeah, great. It might be worth it to add that. So very much in the same reason like sim stackers existed.
Yeah.
Where it was, so you could take your 30 meg or your 30 pin sims, convert them to 72 pin sim. I'm not joking. I actually have a ton of sim stackers at work. And the other day, just for fun, I've got one that's PC 133 to 72 pin sims to 30 pin sims.
Oh,
so
Lord.
So I don't know why my machine is so unstable, but I was able to put there my investment. So
Well, I when I was doing computer tech support in the 90s, I had one company, they paid for a 256 megabyte upgrade to their Quadrant 950. So we rocked up with whatever it was, 16 megabyte SIMs.
Yep.
And they at the time cost thousands. I can't remember how many thousands, but it was thousands of dollars for that RAM.
Probably at least half the cost of the original purchase price of the computer.
And of course, the irony of the whole thing is that this is 256 megabytes of RAM running under OS 9 or whatever it was at the time, or 8 or possibly even earlier. I can't remember which operating system it was, but you just would never have got the full benefit of that RAM running those old operating systems, even if you gave it, because they were doing retouching, and even if you gave all of it to Photoshop, it's I don't think you would have really got the full benefit of 256 megabytes of RAM. But it was fun. It was fun doing it.
Don't forget, Steve, about RAM disks. So there's a lot of people kind of in that era. Because I remember I worked for a mass communication. Well, I work in higher ed, but at the time of the college I worked at, I worked for their mass communication media arts department. And we had a lot of Quadra machines. We had like 2FX machines that had like maxed out RAM, because they would all have like a 64 megabyte sort of like basically like a RAM drive that the scratch for whatever the application lived in, because it was faster to page to that than it was to disk. So if you were doing certain operations, it was a little bit quicker. But you're 100% right, though. You have to have some real world use cases of why you're doing some of those things for them to really make sense.
I mean, look at these prices.
Yeah.
That's what Grudy spends for this stuff now.
That looks like
it's kind of sad, but yeah, those prices are some lunatic is asking on eBay for $1,299 for a 25 megahertz 040 turbo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to look at it this way too. A lot of people were complaining about the new Mac Pro pricing. Okay, but if they looked at what some of those beige so-called Mac Pros were back then, they were about the same price in today's dollars. I mean, I people would just like to complain about prices,
Some of them were more.
Huh?
Some of them were more.
Exactly.
Now, a quick question to the
That's
group.
what I want.
Oh, I want
Right there. I want that. There's a couple companies that made them too.
What is it?
Made what?
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's basically it's a you take your lid
Stack
off your
up.
LC, and it gives you an auxiliary power supply. It gives you 3 PBS slots that you have to power the machine off, and you slide like a slider, and it'll activate each one, and then an auxiliary place for a hard drive and stuff on your little tiny LC power supply. If you
Okay,
didn't
yeah,
buy
I
it,
want that.
So why not just buy a Quadra?
Because this was
This was only $350.
So for all the
And I think
upgrades you
then they
can do on your old machines, your new machines, how many people prefer to actually use the stock CPU? Because I have a stack of CPU cards on any speed you could think of for my G4s, but for the last 2 PowerPC challenges, I've been using a dual 800, 67 megahertz card. I've been perfectly happy with it.
how does that run under System 7.1?
It won't run 7.1.
I know that's the joke. That's the
So it's nice to have all that power, but same as with these upgrades, if you don't need it, why put a 2 gigahertz card in your G4 if 800 megahertz works just as well?
Got a point there.
Do we only do it because we can do it, or do we only do it if it?
That's a good question to ask Sean. Why does he do it?
for the views and that sweet internet money, obviously.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, sometimes it's just fun to do it.
Well, Gertie, you just like to lead, so that's a different story.
I would tend to agree that just tinkering in general, you just pull the computer out of the cupboard, you whack a different CPU in it, fire it up, install a system, run a bench test, whatever. Hey, isn't that fun? Put it away again. I do that all the time.
Well, I think we do. All of us do a lot of that all the time because, I mean, hell, I've got a couple of old Power Macs sitting over there on the shelf, and I fire them up every now and then, but I don't do much to them. I mean,
yeah, just tinkering.
Yep.
Bit of fun.
Okay.
That's what this hobby is all about. It doesn't make any sense if you're not having fun.
so that kind of segues into our next topic that we could start talking about is collecting these nostalgia machines. So what do we talk about that? And is it also important to run the accurate software on the computer?
No.
Hardware.
Hardware or accurate
Does
hardware.
does someone else want to read this?
I mean, I think everything that gives you a modern advantage, like a SCSI 2SD or a Blue SCSI or a floppy emulator or anything like that, it just takes a lot of the headaches out of things because I can just plug in a raw SCSI, mount an image, and do all the stuff via the network while Ron is, trying to, shoehorn 4 PowerBooks into a backpack. But
let's take it even as sorry, Steve, continue.
No, I was just going to say, it's hard for me to remember that there are these new tools out there as we watch Ron shove PowerBooks into a bag, because my first instinct is to, let me grab an external SCSI CD-ROM drive. Let me grab a stack of floppy disks that have questionable content on them. I don't know, I don't know how to rewire my brain to use these new things, because every stream somebody will be like, don't you have a floppy emulator? Don't you have Blue SCSI? I'm like, oh yeah. That's a whole other story.
Well, it's not like you guys build them and sell them, right, Bruce?
Wow. I don't do the floppy MUs. I did investigate that in Australia, but it was all getting a little bit too complicated. So, I mean, having just worked with the Macintosh 2C recently, where of course we're talking about 5 1/4 inch floppy drives, and while I do have a little box of 5 1/4 inch floppy drives, I reckon probably 80% of them are stuffed. And to just be able to fire that computer up with the floppy MU, just grab an image, bang, load it, away you go. I mean, it just makes using it a lot easier. Now, if your aim is to get the full experience of those computers, then yes, of course, you want the floppy disks. You want to hear the da-da-da-da-da-da of the drive when because those things make a horrible noise to start off with if there's no disk in the drive. You want that. You want that as part of the experience. But if you're wanting to get on there and play some games or do some programming or use some of the applications, if that is your aim, then you're probably more likely going to want to use an emulator so you can just have the ease of just grabbing the image and loading them up and doing them that way. But here's something that I want to throw out to everyone. Let's go even further, even more simple than that. Rather than talk about emulators and stuff like that, how do people feel about running these old computers with an LCD rather than a CRT?
Takes up a lot less space on the desk.
Yes.
Yes.
And then
there's only one machine that I keep original. That's my blue and white. Everything else has SATA, PCI cards, SSDs, maximum RAM, CPU upgrades, anything that makes it easier to use and less noisy to use and more reliable to use is fair game.
Well, I mean, my TI-99 back here, I actually converted the RF modulator because those things came with a big old honking RF modulator that was powered by 12 volts coming from the same connector. And I cut that cable off, and because it is composite video coming out of it, and I actually have a composite to HDMI converter, and I use an LCD monitor because, like you guys said, it's much easier to do it that way than to. I don't have a TV or anything that uses those RF channels anymore like that. Every TV I think I own now has digital on it. There is no more in the United States, especially since about 5 or 6 years ago.
15
everything.
years.
No, it hasn't been that long.
2000.
Where they actually have cut off the analog broadcast stations. So it's
2012.
2012. So
Yeah.
I just missed my SCART connector, man.
2009.
Well, there was a transition period. Anyway,
Yeah.
the tuners that they're putting in these things, it was more expensive to have an analog and a digital tuner in one device. So they saved the 3 pennies it was, and now
They also wanted to redo the bands for like emergency
Oh, of course,
purposes.
but I'm saying that whole issue is different than the piece of hardware that they're putting into the back of the television.
yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. Is that I can't stick a old RF modulator on the back of a modern TV today because it's not going to work. So I had to cut the RF modulator off.
There's no coax plugs anymore.
Well, there is.
Don't forget about VCRs, guys. Just a trip to a Goodwill to get that $5 VCR. And
Even if it's
your Atari 2600, your Atom, and all your old retro stuff.
Yeah, I just connect the PC to my TV and then connect my Laserdisc to the PC.
I like what Justin says there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a bunch of CRTs, and I am terrified of turning them on.
Well,
Especially when they degauss when you first switch them on. They go,
So you just give them to me instead, so I can blow them up for you.
You think the sheer amount of power that goes through one of those things every single time you turn it on or turn it off, you're just like, and the day that I had my favorite CRT I ever had, and I've told you guys this before, was that 1710 AV display that I had late 90s, I guess. And I remember the day I was sat down in my bedroom and I turned it on and I heard like a pop inside there and it never worked again.
Ooh.
And 20 years later, I found one that was still working and I drove to Michigan to get it and I still have not turned it on.
well, if it's any consolation, pops are usually easy to find inside, so it might be repairable.
Yeah. Well, the thing with those monitors was it wasn't the flyback; it was something else. I can't remember what it was called. Something inverter, not backlight because it didn't have those. Anyway, it was a known flaw in those monitors. And
Horizontal output transformer.
Was that it? I don't know.
It makes me sound smart as hell, though.
But the later ones that were made toward the end of their run apparently don't have that issue, at least not as bad as the older ones. But mine was one of the older ones, and it died. I kept it for years thinking, I'll get it fixed somehow, and you just can't.
Yeah, I mean, the only time I really use CRTs is if I'm shooting footage for video or something. Like Sean had a video about a PowerBook, and I think he needed footage of a PowerBook Duo. So I set up mine, and this was a CRT that was given to me in the box from E-Wave's place, and it was in immaculate condition. I plug it in, and it was probably just because it was dusty and it was warming up, but it was like arcing. And so I'm like behind it trying to like set up the cameras and everything and the lighting, and my face is like 2 inches away, and I just hear I'm like, it's just you're not used to it because everything has changed. But I got so much like crap from somebody on a very early YouTube video I did unboxing the Performa. And the guy's like, first you're using a SCSI emulator, now you're using an LCD. Like, what's original about this? The damn machine? Like, come on. It's I didn't have a fancy camera. I couldn't sync the refresh rate, so I used an LCD to make it easier. Come on.
It's so much easier not to have to sync the refresh rate. It's just easier to use the LCD usually.
Yeah,
unless you get the angle wrong and it starts getting all rainbowy. But
I have 3 CRTs. I have one of the original little 12-inch RGBs that goes with the LCs with a nice little curved front. The 13-inch of the same time, which has the swivel stand, and then the original 13-inch high-resolution display, which is the one that goes with my Mac 2. The Mac 2s that I have. So, and that's part of kind of recreating the original setup that I had in the old days. So they're the 3 CRTs that I have. I do not intend to get any more. I don't have the space. The only one that I would make the space for would be if I could get one of the original full page displays. The portrait full page displays that they made at the time. Because I think they are just such a visual novelty.
You need a card for those though.
Yeah,
you just need the right cable. That's impossible to find, and you might as well spend the money on a card instead.
Yeah, I went tried to look for that RF modulator, but it doesn't have coax cable there, Dana. I remember you saying that, but it was basically the twin lead 300 ohm connector. So
that's a little thing, and you screw. Yeah,
yeah. Which I think even TV that still had tuners in it didn't even got rid of those.
And you shove it into the HDMI port, and then take another screw, you shove it into the other HDMI port, and that's your 2 connections.
That's good enough.
It might work. Yeah.
I'm a fan of using the original CRTs if you've got like a real reason and like it's not like something that's going to that it's irreplaceable. Like the green screen, like that little Apple IIe monitor I got back here. There, people just give them away all the time. So if you and there's not a lot inside of them. So if you open it up and you look inside, it's pretty easy to make a repair. And
Is
then
that the one that swivels?
Yes, it is. Not motorized. That would be like the 100, the RGB monitor. Those are like I would turn those on. Those are too expensive. But I do have an RGB Sony PVM back there for testing like arcade stuff and testing consoles and things like that. But again, that never gets turned on unless you're specifically doing some special piece of work. Other than that, it's LCDs.
Well,
But-
I mean,
Yeah, you don't want to break that unit
Yeah.
that like is so like I have a Trinitron as well. It's one of those little PVM things, and it's like it's great when I want to use it, but it just sits on the shelf otherwise because I don't want it running. But the other argument is you hear from all these CRT people like, no, they're designed to run hot and long hours, and it's like
right.
that's fine, but I don't want to have to buy another one of these.
Yeah, there's only like my
Or find
PVM
one in
only
the
has
trash,
like
right?
19,000 hours on it, so it's like it was used at it was a sonogram monitor for some hospital system, and it's like if I can keep it under 20,000 hours, that's probably great. But Dana, on your monitor repair, just remember with a CRT, it can only kill you once.
Yeah.
If that's any consolation to you doing the repair, you can only. It's going to hurt the whole time, but it can still only kill you once.
I have stayed away from CRTs. I've never even discharged one. I'm just like, somebody else can mess with that high voltage crap. I'm not.
I'm very squeamish about it, but I've started to discharge.
Speaking of CRTs, I think Steve has a video for us.
What? Not CRTs. But
I think
I'm just trying to get to your trivia video.
sure.
Exactly.
All right. So I'll introduce this, I guess. So we have a little bit of a thing I wanted to share. Well, I guess me, whatever. Royal we. Ron put me up to it. So I recently acquired some Apple training material. We'll talk about that in a second. But here's a quick segment from it. And it's sort of a do's and don'ts. So it's going to show you 4 things, and you have to guess which one is the least terrible. And I think it's going to mute us while we're all doing here. So here you go.
Yes, discs are relatively sturdy and are less likely to suffer damage from dropping than from exposure to magnetic fields, smoke and dust, liquids, heat, or fingerprints on the disc's magnetic surface. No, speaker cabinets contain magnets, which can cause severe damage to disc memory. No, discs should always be protected from smoke and dust, which can damage both disc surfaces and disc drive heads. No, liquid spills can permanently damage discs. A note about these discs: while all discs can take normal wear and tear, they should never be left near liquids, nor placed near a magnet or speaker, nor exposed to dust or smoke.
Oh my lord!
Did you all guess that correctly?
I used to have those exact shoes.
The shoes. Oh my lord!
Sorry, I misunderstood the question. I thought we were supposed to figure out what was the worst for it. And the other thing that really got me was the fact that I had no idea until they said that that was a speaker cabinet. I thought it was just sitting on a bench.
filing
I had no
cabinet.
clue
Yeah.
either.
Yeah, I thought, well, there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with putting it on a bench. What the hell,
Exactly.
man? I mean,
So I got it's actually probably close to an hour and a half of footage on these 3 laser discs that were Apple. It's called Macintosh Fundamentals 2.0.
Oh,
And I just digitized 1 disc. That's why I was a bit late here, because once you start it, you can't walk away. What's very interesting about the set is most of it is like, oh, here's how to use MultiFinder. Here's how to do this. Here's how to do that. Well, a lot of them are like those segments where it gives you like a multiple choice thing. You're like, oh, what's going on? It's like, but how laser discs work is
they were interactive.
they're interactive, exactly. And so this disc has different chapters of audio and stuff, but none of them are encoded on the disc. It's all encoded. No, there's no chapters, which was a common thing on some early Laserdiscs. So you need a HyperCard program and a serial cable and a HyperCard stack to tell the disc to go to the chapter and whatever. Because if you just play it normally, you hear the left side of the audio, which is, you know, the guy speaking or whatever.
Yeah.
And the right side is like these sound effects like, oh no, correct. Try it again.
Yeah, I was like, why is it on one side and then also, yeah, it's on the other. I thought it was just mono at first.
Yeah, it's silly, but there are some gems that I've seen already. There's a guy like putting a blowtorch on a floppy disk, and so I don't know. There's crazy stuff. So this stuff will be digitized and uploaded somewhere.
You got a welder. You could see what welding a floppy would do to it, right?
I actually really look forward to watching that.
Yeah, there's a whole
that as time goes on, we experience, like, you know, the style of music from the 70s comes back for a while, or 80s comes back, and fashion from the 90s might come back, or, you know, whatever else. And it's all, again, nostalgia based. But that video was a classic example of the kind of stuff they don't bring back. That like brass pan that the thing was sitting on, and then that shoes. Oh my god!
I mean, that's the style of the time. You gotta.
I remember it well, but I don't miss it at all.
Well, so the video has a copyright date of 1990, but a lot of the
content. I was going to say 1989.
Yeah, it was filmed 89 or 90 or something like that.
Hell, you guys were still in like grade school then. Come on.
I do want to.
I wasn't even born yet.
This, which is a screen grab just from my TV, but I like to call this guy Mr. Scuzzy because he has. And
I always pictured Scuzzy looking differently.
He has a nice sweater on, and he introduces all these computer
His
concepts.
forehead is like a ribbon cable.
All you got to do is you got to put your hands on the screen, and that's how you'll get the Scuzzy termination. Can I get an amen?
You'll be healed.
What is so great about this segment is
Mr. Rogers' older brother.
Yeah. What's great about this segment is he makes Scuzzy sound so easy. He's like, there's only two principles you really need to follow: cable length and termination. And I'm like,
and termination will be broken into 16 subsections.
Yeah, that's the video series.
All right, let's talk about the special financing you're going to need for all the devices you're going to want to buy.
But there's some excellent B-roll of just these machines in their heyday of just, you know, all beautiful stuff. So I have to, digitize them. Then I'll show you soon. Last image I'll leave you with before I'm booted off here. If I click on the thing fast enough, it'll go. And this is just some of the stuff that they just show, and it's just like, you know.
Now that's not an Apple scanner in the top list, is it? So this is before they were.
That was before. Yeah, it's very interesting because they show very few third-party things, but when they do, it's because they didn't have something yet. So.
Yeah.
That's about $100,000 right there. No,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's Scuzzy modem though. That's a rare find.
No, that's a serial modem, I think.
Is it?
Well, yeah, I know, but you were just talking about Scuzzy.
Oh.
That's
got me again.
That's Scuzzy monitor. I love that too.
So that's what, a tape drive in the front left there, was it?
Yeah.
I have that printer.
I am going to drop a little link into the chat. If people want to just stay with the nostalgia thing, after the show, have a look at this. It's a video from 1991, and it's made by one of the RAM manufacturers at the time, explaining how to install RAM sims.
Oh, I think
and of course, using it.
Yeah,
yeah, and looking at all the old different devices and everything. And I found it so entertaining.
And it's really not. I mean, the audio is a little staticky, but it's not a bad video. And Bruce and I were actually talking about making a video of how to open up some of these machines, just like a common how-to video. And that one just knocks it out of the park. It's like you don't even have to do it because that video is perfect.
Yes.
Steve, I want to see if we get a copyright strike for the music on that thing you just played.
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah,
It'll be good to see that before I put it on my channel. Last thing I just want to mention about this is I am looking for a piece of software, the HyperCard stacks that run the Laserdiscs. It's called Macintosh Fundamentals 2.0. There is a 2.5 version on Macintosh Garden, but if anybody has, it was distributed on CDs or floppies. If anybody has a Macintosh Fundamentals disc hiding in their collection somewhere, please contact me, mac84tv@gmail.com, or you can find us on Discord, etc. That's it.
Neat.
All right. You guys got anything else before we call it a night here?
Bruce, if I watch this Ram video all the way to the end, it's not like a snuff film, right?
No, you're safe. You're safe. But there is a mistake in there, and I want to see if you find it.
Hey, real quick, I got something to add.
Yeah, go for it.
Smash that like button.
Go. There we go.
Okay.
All right. So, guys, we're coming to the end of the show tonight. Make sure you go and smash that like button, but also make sure you go check out our Discord. We do have a Discord that's very active over there. Check it out. We also have a website. It's mac-yak.com. I don't think we haven't done a whole lot to that site lately, but
Absolutely not.
yeah, go check it out anyways. I think we also have a Facebook page as well. Go check that out. But also,
Right.
Tinker Different is another good thing to go to. And you could go and check out all the PowerPC Challenge stuff that we've had people post there. So go check it out. Other than that, if anybody's got anything else to add before we call it a night.
Yeah,
Is anyone streaming after
forget
this?
Don't forget to check out the MacYak Yahoo group. Don't forget to check out their MySpace page. Also, there's
Our Google
some
group,
smoke screens that, depending on the weather, you may be able to get in your market.
Google Plus.
Everything, they got it all.
All right, guys.
I will
I'm
announce
going-
on
Yeah,
Discord.
go, wait. Is Dana going to do something?
When I decide to live stream, I will put it on Discord.
Yay!
Everybody go. We're like, what? All right, guys. So that's the end of our stream tonight. We'll catch you guys all next week. Bye.
Bye.